Have you ever stepped into the woods and suddenly felt like the air changed, like the trees were watching you? There's a forest in Vancouver, Canada, that holds a secret, a terrible one. And even though it's been decades, some say the forest hasn't forgotten. This is the story of the forgotten brothers of Stanley Park. On a chilly morning in January 1953, a groundskeeper named Walter Briggs was clearing dense brush in a remote part of Stanley Park far from the paths tourists walk. The undergrowth was thick, and it hadn't been disturbed in years. As Walter swung his machete into a tangled thicket, he struck something that didn't feel like wood. Curious, he pulled away some vines and moss, then froze. Beneath the brush were two small skulls, side by side, still wearing the remnants of children's caps, and beside them, a rusted hatchet. Authorities quickly sealed off the area. What they found was worse than anyone imagined. Two young boys, barely older than toddlers, buried under blackberry branches, covered by an old moth-eaten woman's coat, carefully placed over them like a blanket. Their bones had been broken, the weapon, most likely that same rusted hatchet, and the most chilling part, no one had ever reported them missing. No posters, no searches, no one had come looking. These children were never named, never claimed to the public. They were known only as the babes in the woods. For years, the case went cold. The police couldn't find any evidence pointing to who the boys were who had killed them. Forensic analysis at the time could only determine their age is around 6 and 4. Maybe brothers, maybe not. But they'd been dead for at least 5 years before being discovered. Some investigators believed they were runaways. Others feared they had been dumped by a parent too poor or too disturbed to care for them. Decades passed. Then, in 2021, thanks to advances in forensic DNA genealogy, scientists were able to pull degraded DNA from the bones, and for the first time, the children had names: Samuel and Michael Dawson, brothers. They had lived in Vancouver's East End, in a modest boarding house. Their mother, Irene Dawson, had struggled to keep a job. She was known to neighbors as quiet, often overwhelmed. She'd once asked a local church to take the boys in, but was turned away. Later, she told a friend, "They're not with me anymore." But she never reported them missing, never explained where they went, and she vanished from public record in the late 1950s. Some believe she may have been responsible for the murders. Others think she handed them off to someone who never intended for them to survive. Either way, no one was ever charged. Stanley Park hasn't forgotten over the years. Hikers and joggers have reported eerie encounters near the area where the boys were found. Some say they hear laughter, soft, high-pitched, like children playing, echoing through the trees, though no one's around. Others have seen two shadowy figures moving hand in hand just beyond the trail, disappearing when approached. Park rangers speak of hearing footsteps following them, only to turn and find no one there. One woman swears she saw a barefoot child standing by a cedar tree, staring blankly. He wore an old-fashioned cap. When she blinked, he was gone. In the 1980s, a spiritual medium visited the site. She claimed the boys' spirits were trapped, not angry, just lost, waiting for someone to say their names, to remember them. Now, decades later, they've been identified, but people still report strange feelings, cold spots, disembodied voices, and the sense of being watched while walking those woods alone. So, the next time you're in Vancouver and you find yourself wandering too far off the path in Stanley Park, be careful where you step, listen, and if you hear the sound of tiny footsteps behind you, or see a glimpse of two boys watching from the trees, don't follow, because some ghosts don't want to be found, and some forests never forget.